and more civilian casualties. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is still in the city. He has been trying to drum up more international support, asking for additional military aid and tougher sanctions on Russia. Yesterday, he asked European leaders to impose a no-fly zone over Ukraine, a request he also made to Canadian lawmakers in an emotional speech. In a few moments, he will make a virtual address to the US Congress, and we will bring you that speech live as soon as it begins. But first, let's cross over to DW Washington Bureau Chief Ines Paul. Ines, Zelenskyy is to address the US Congress shortly. What can we expect?
Yeah, these are dramatic moments. While we are waiting for Zelenskyy to speak, bombs are falling down. We just saw pictures from skyscrapers crumbling as they're hit by Russian munitions. So this is kind of the setting. Zelenskyy is going to address the Congress. As you just said, he will definitely thank the US for what it's done to support Ukraine and fight Russia. But he also wants to kind of bring the horror, which is happening right now in Kyiv, where he is in whole Ukraine, to the audience, to convince them to perk up their support, to help more than they're already doing.
Yes, we're seeing live pictures of the US Congress there as we speak. Ines, there are already a lot of sanctions against Russia in place, as significant financial aid for Ukraine. What else could Washington do? What else could Zelenskyy ask for?
Well, he probably will ask for this no-fly zone, which is not going to happen. I mean, there is nothing he really can say today to convince Biden and his administration to support that. He wants more weapons, and we also hear in the background that he just wants more military support. And there are obviously negotiations going on that Joe Biden probably will announce right after the speech more aid. The talks are about another $800 million to Ukraine. But the big question really is how far Joe Biden really can go. And there is this one red line which is not negotiable. Even so, Zelenskyy is probably urging again his European and American friends to allow Ukraine to join NATO. But this is something which we won't see today and probably not in the coming months.
Now, Zelenskyy's speech takes place after President Biden has already signaled a massive spending bill into law that dedicates many billions to Ukraine. How united are Democrats and Republicans when it comes to putting pressure on Russia?
That's an interesting question, Gerhard. Here in Washington, between the lawmakers, we see a unity we haven't seen since years, I want to say. But when you leave Washington, this is dramatically changing. I attended a Trump rally over the weekend, and I talked to Trump supporters. And as much as they feel for the Ukrainians, they're clear in their approach. What matters to them is what is happening here in the United States. It's mainly the exploding energy prices, the exploding gas prices. And this, people see this connected, obviously, to the sanctions of the Biden administration. And this is facing some criticism here. So the further away you go from the political Washington, the higher the criticism is.
OK, Ines, thank you very much. We're going to talk to you in a minute. President Zelenskyy appears to be on screen there at the US Congress and will shortly start his address. So let's go to Washington and let's listen in.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Madam Ambassador, who is with us this morning. Madam Ambassador. Ambassador Makarova. Mr. Mr. President, it is my honor to present to you the Congress of the United States, which has great respect and admiration and appreciation for your courageous leadership. Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Slava Ukraina! Slava Ukraina!
Glory to heroes.
My colleagues, Slava Ukraina! Slava Ukraina!
Glory to heroes. Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, members of the Congress, ladies and gentlemen, Americans, friends, I'm proud to greet you from Ukraine, from our capital city of Kyiv, a city that is under missile and airstrikes from Russian troops every day. But it doesn't give up. And we have not even thought about it for a second. Just like many other cities and communities in our beautiful country, which found themselves in the worst war since World War II. I have the honor to greet you on behalf of the Ukrainian people, brave and freedom-loving people who for 8 years have been resisting the Russian aggression. Those who give their best sons and daughters to stop this full-scale Russian invasion. Right now, the destiny of our country is being decided. The destiny of our people, whether Ukrainians will be free, whether they will be able to preserve their democracy. Russia has attacked not just us, not just our land, not just our cities. It went on a brutal offensive against our values, basic human values. It threw tanks and planes against our freedom, against our right to live freely in our own country, choosing our own future, against our desire for happiness, against our national dreams, just like the same dreams you have, you Americans, just like anyone else in the United States. I remember your national memorial in Rushmore, the faces of your prominent presidents, those who laid the foundation of the United States of America as it is today, democracy, independence, freedom, and care for everyone, for every person, for everyone who works diligently, who lives honestly, who respects the law. We in Ukraine want the same for our people. All that is normal part of your own life. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, Americans, in your great history, you have pages that would allow you to understand Ukrainians, understand us now, when you need it right now, when we need you right now. Remember Pearl Harbor, terrible morning of December 7, 1941, when your sky was black from the planes attacking you. Just remember it. Remember September the 11th, a terrible day in 2001 when evil tried to turn your cities, independent territories, in battlefields, when innocent people were attacked from air. Yes, just like no one else expected it. You could not stop it. Our country experience the same every day, right now, at this moment, every night, for 3 weeks now. Various Ukrainian cities, Odessa and Kharkiv, Chernihiv and Sumy, Zhytomyr and Lviv, Mariupol and Dnipro. Russia has turned the Ukrainian sky into a source of death for thousands of people. Russian troops have already fired nearly 1,000 missiles at Ukraine, countless bombs. They use drones to kill us with precision. This is a terror that Europe has not seen for 80 years, and we are asking for a reply, for an answer to this terror from the whole world. Is this a lot to ask for, to create a no-fly zone over Ukraine to save people? Is this too much to ask? Humanitarian no-fly zone, something that that Russia would not be able to terrorize our free cities. If this is too much to ask, we offer an alternative. You know what kind of defense systems we need, S-300 and other similar systems. You know how much depends on the battlefield, on the ability to use aircraft, powerful, strong aviation to protect our people, our freedom, our land, aircraft that can help Ukraine, help Europe. And you know that they exist and you have them, but they are on earth, not in Ukraine, in the Ukrainian sky. They do not defend our people. I have a dream. These words are known to each of you. Today I can say, I have a need. I need to protect our sky. I need your decision, your help, which means exactly the same you feel when you hear the words, I have a dream. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, Ukraine is grateful to the United States for its overwhelming support, for everything that your government and your people have done for us, for weapons and ammunition, for training, for finances, for leadership in the free world, which helps us to pressure the aggressor economically. I'm grateful to President Biden for his personal involvement, for his sincere commitment to the defense of Ukraine and democracy all over the world. I am grateful to you for the resolution which recognizes all those who commit crimes against Ukraine, against the Ukrainian people as war criminals. However, now, it is true, in the darkest time for our country, for the whole Europe, I call on you to do more. New packages of sanctions are needed constantly, every week, until the Russian military machine stops. Restrictions are needed for everyone on whom this unjust regime is based. We propose that the United States sanctions all politicians in the Russian Federation who remain in their offices and do not cut ties with those who are responsible for the aggression against Ukraine. From State Duma's members to the last official who has lack of morale to break this state terror. All American companies must leave Russia from their market, leave their market immediately, because it is flooded with our blood. Ladies and gentlemen, members of Congress, please take the lead. If you have companies in your districts who finance the Russian military machine leaving business in Russia, you should put pressure. I am asking to make sure that the Russians do not receive a single penny that they use to destroy people in Ukraine. The destruction of our country, the destruction of Europe. All American ports should be closed for Russian goods. Peace is more important than income, and we have to defend this principle in the whole world. We already became part of the anti-war coalition, a big anti-war coalition that unites many countries, dozens of countries, those who reacted to, in principle, to President Putin's decision to invade our country. But we need to move on and do more. We need to create new tools to respond quickly and stop the war, the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine, which began on February 24th. And it would be fair if it ended in a day, in 24 hours, that evil would be punished immediately. Today, the world does not have such tools. The war of the past have prompted our predecessors to create institutions that should protect us from war. But they unfortunately don't work. We see it, you see it, so we need new ones, new institutions, new alliances, and we offer them. We propose to create an association, U24, United for Peace, a union of responsible countries that have the strength and consciousness to stop conflicts immediately, provide all the necessary assistance in 24 hours, if necessary, even weapons, if necessary, sanctions, humanitarian support, political support, finances, everything you need to keep the peace and quickly save the world, to save lives. In addition, such association, such union could provide assistance to those who are experiencing natural disasters, man-made disasters, who fell victims to humanitarian crisis or epidemics. Remember how difficult it was for the world to do the simplest thing, just to give vaccines against COVID to save lives, to prevent new strains. The world spent months, years doing things like that, much faster, to make sure there are no human losses, no victims. Ladies and gentlemen, Americans, if such alliance would exist today, that is U24, we would be able to save thousands of lives in our country. In many countries of the world, those who need peace, those who suffer inhumane destruction. I ask you to watch one video of what the Russian troops did in our country, in our land. We have to stop it. We must prevent it, preventively destroy every single aggressor who seeks to subjugate other nations. Please watch the video.
And in the end, to sum it up, today it's not enough to be the leader of the nation. today it takes to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace. Peace in your country doesn't depend anymore only on you and your people. It depends on those next to you, on those who are strong. Strong doesn't mean weak. Strong is brave and ready to fight for the life of his citizens and citizens of the world, for human rights, for freedom, for the right to live decently and to die when your time comes, and not when it's wanted by someone else, by your neighbor. Today, the Ukrainian people are defending not only Ukraine, we are fighting for the values of Europe and the world, sacrificing our lives in the name of the future. That's why today the American people are helping not just Ukraine, but Europe and the world to keep the planet alive, to keep justice in history. Now I'm almost 45 years old. Today my age stopped when the hearts of more than 100 children stopped beating. I see no sense in life if it cannot stop the death. And this is my main mission as the leader of my people, great Ukrainians. And as the leader of my nation, I am addressing the President Biden. You are the leader of the nation, of your great nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace. Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
Glory to Ukraine.
For your support.
That was Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy addressing the US Congress there, getting standing ovations for his speech. That was roughly 15 minutes long, if I've timed it correctly. Now let's go back to our Washington bureau chief, Ines Paul, who's been watching that speech as well. Now, he has addressed Congress. What stood out for you in his speech, especially if you compare it to other speeches that he's given to other lawmakers around the world?
That was, I think, a moment which can't get more dramatical. I mean, this video put it all together. He wanted to show the United States, he wanted to show the world what is going on in his country. He wanted to transport the horror he and his fellow Ukrainians experience since 2 weeks now to the United States. He addressed President Joe Biden directly, urged him to be the leader of the world, repeated what he said before, that this is not only a war against Ukraine, that the Russians are really trying to destroy all the values Ukraine, Europe and the Western world stands for. I would say I would like to kind of cut this speech into 3 parts. First of all, he really wanted to thank the United States. It was a friendly reach out to the audience, to President Biden again for the support he already get. But then with this video and his dramatic descriptions, he wants to urge the world for more support. He hinted kind of that he understands that it is hard to support from the Americans to support a no-fly zone, but he made it clear that he needs air defense, and he used really strong words. If I may kind of repeat some, he said, "The Russians have turned the Ukrainian sky into a a source of death, and therefore he needs more defense aircrafts. So it was really, really a very concrete and specific. For me, it was also really outstanding how well he knows the United States and which kind of triggers he needs to use to get also the hearts of the American people. He referred to Mount Rushmore, this mountain where all the faces of former presidents were engraved. This is really a very important monument for the American people. And he said, imagine if Russia would shoot at those, it would destroy them. And then the other line, which is probably one of the most powerful in his speech, he said this, I have a dream. Everyone knows that line here in the United States. And he says, I have a dream. Zelenskyy says, I have a dream, but I also have a need. So that again is an urgent cry for help. So all in all, a really emotional speech, but I think he triggered all the buttons he needed to get even more support from the United States now after this 15 minutes long speech he just delivered.
Now, Ines, you mentioned some of these big, powerful points that he evoked there in this speech, Mount Rushmore and Martin Luther King, I have a dream. He also spoke about the big national traumas of the U.S., Pearl Harbor and 9/11, compared that to make it, I think, comparable to what Ukraine is now experiencing. Do you think he was not only speaking to lawmakers there, but also was trying to win the hearts and minds, if you will, of the average American citizen?
Absolutely, and I'm sure he did. I mean, there won't be any American who is watching this speech or hearing his words who is not hit in his heart. As you just said, Gerhard, mentioning 9/11, all the other big dramas, this is resonating within the American soul. And with that, he wants to put even more pressure on President Biden to deliver more defense aircrafts. And from what we hear from the Biden administration, this is kind of the number one topic. And it seems that they really will send more defense aircraft to the Ukraine. The big question probably is if they come in time.
Ines, he was asking very explicitly for weapons. He also asked for the surface-to-air missiles, the S-300 missiles. But also, he asked for new sanctions on Russia, more sanctions, and on all politicians there who still do not speak out against the war, the Duma members. Furthermore, he asked that all U.S. companies must leave Russia to close U.S. ports to Russian goods. Those are all sort of little steps of escalation, if you will. How likely is it that the U.S. increases these sanctions?
He really used the stage to kind of reach everyone in this huge big country, right? He definitely tried to, or he definitely addressed it to Joe Biden himself, to the president and to the lawmakers. But as you just said, he specifically spoke directly to shop owners, saying that they should close their shops in Russia, saying that like Russian money or everybody who is kind of supporting the Russian market has blood on his hands. Yes, he's asking for higher, stricter sanctions. We hear that there are debates whether Chinese banks who are doing business with Russia should be also sanctioned from the US. This is something the White House obviously is also discussing. So yes, he leaves no doubt, and I think this video underlined it, that the situation in Ukraine is just horrible, and he needs every possible help from the whole world, especially from the strong and powerful United States, to end it as soon as possible.
DW's bureau chief in Washington there reporting for us. Thank you very much, Ines Paul. Russia, meanwhile, is escalating its attacks across Ukraine. Russian forces are reported to be intensifying fighting in the suburbs of the capital and have also stepped up their bombardment of Kyiv. Emergency services say at least 2 people were injured in new strikes on the city this morning.
For residents of the Ukrainian capital, every passing day brings further shelling, more homes lost, and more casualties. Is she alive? Yes, she's alive. Get her in the car. A citywide curfew was imposed on Tuesday and will last until Thursday morning. Ahead of the curfew, people rushed to the stores to stock up on food and supplies. The situation in the city is not bad. People are holding up. We're supported by the volunteers and the territorial defense.